Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of American Soccer Quick Kicks. I'm your host, David Wright. Sorry coming to you a day late, but of course we had to get on here and talk about the November friendlies that the U.S. men just completed. The international window is now over. We played Paraguay on Saturday night, played Uruguay last night on November, I guess it was the 18th. Both of them victories for the U.S. men, and we have put together a pretty good run of form here, and I think optimism is running high. So I want to get on. I want to talk about my thoughts and impressions of this camp and what the team looked like, what the players looked like, who stood out. And, of course, as has been the case, I believe, in the last two windows, or at least for the last two matches, I'm going to bring on a good friend, John Pyatt, who comes on and helps me give the postmortems here on these U.S. matches. So, John, welcome back. Quick Kicks, how are you doing?
Thank you. Doing very well. Thanks for having me on again.
I'm not hearing you. Let's see what's going on here. Hello? 1, 2, 3. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay,
So 2-1 victory over Paraguay.
Yeah.
We squeaked by Uruguay last night, 5-1. Tell me, first of all, I apologize if you can hear a rock band in the background. My son's band is here rehearsing, and it's creating quite a situation. So,
yeah, it's exciting though. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, not going to be too distracted.
They're excited about the wins. That's what it is, right?
Exactly.
So Paraguay was interesting in that everything seemed to play a lot better overall, right? And then Uruguay came along and they just ripped it all open and just let it all hang out, and they did amazing. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, so let's see, where do we want to start? Let's start with Paraguay, I guess. Hold on, I'm going to try to see if I still have this. First I'm going to do is I'm going to call up the November roster here. Let's take a look at this. So, when this came out, I kind of tried not to have a freak out. So, there's a lot of names missing here. We went over it last time. Pulisic, Weah, Adams, Richards. A lot of names that you want to see are Bikini, not here. It's like, what are we doing? Some of this didn't happen. Zawadzki went home with an injury. Tyler Adams went home with an injury. I think I may have just mentioned him being missing, but he was initially called in. But, these are new names. And, once again, it was getting frustrating because it's like he told us that the experimentation stage was over. We know this is our last window except for the month of March, which seems like a lonely island far away. And it was like, when are we going to get serious about picking our team? I mean, my thought has always been we need to identify the team and get them minutes together. And clearly that's still not happening. What was your initial reaction to this roster when it was announced for the camp?
Yeah, I think I'm very similar to the way that you're looking at it. You kind of wonder, I hate to say this because it's a team sport, but there are big names, They're names that you expect to see each go around, kind of like what you said, because we're trying to see the team come together. And if we can see the team come together, it seems like the best way to get them to come together is to actually get them not just to practice together or be together in the same room, but actually play together on the pitch. And so, exactly like you said, it just seemed like there was some key people that were missing.
Yeah, it's I feel like, obviously we're behind schedule, right? If we had just been able to hire Pochettino immediately after the last World Cup in early 23, he would have had more time to kind of sort through all these problems. And we would be at this stage earlier in the cycle. And then maybe there would be time to get the team, to truly identify the team and get them together and get them matches together. I think at this point we have to say that's just not going to happen. We need to adjust our expectations. We have another window left, and I think he is going to be evaluating till the very end, and we're not going to know until June. I don't think who's going to be on that World Cup squad. There's going to be a little window there just before the World Cup starts. I know they've already announced that Germany is going to be our send-off friendly. We're going to play that in Chicago. I don't know if that's going to be the only match we play in June or not, but we are going to play Germany just before the World Cup. And, of course, by the time that happens, we will have our World Cup roster in place. But I think we're not going to know it until it gets time for that window. I don't think we're going to have the luxury of matches together with our final team. That's just kind of the boat we put ourselves in when we, frankly, wasted time with Berhalter. And only calling it a waste because it proved to not be the right call. You know, we spent 6 months hiring a consulting firm to try to find the next coach just to hire Berhalter anyway. And then the next year got rid of him as soon as Copa America was. So it was just like so much time seemed like it was wasted when everybody kind of already knows that rarely does it work out for a manager to be with the team for more than one World Cup cycle. I wish we'd gotten a full cycle with Pochettino, and I don't expect him to continue after the World Cup. But
I don't either.
I do think, we'll get into this a little bit later. I'm starting to be more optimistic, and I am my faith is starting to be restored in him and this project that he's undertaken with us. And I kind of, I'm now really, really regretting that we couldn't have gotten him sooner. But let's jump into it. Okay, so I have here the Paraguay roster. You know what? I'm going to do something a little bit. Give me a second. Do something a little bit different. Give me your thoughts while I call this up on what you thought of this lineup for Paraguay when they first announced this lineup. What did you what did you think when you saw it? What were your initial thoughts?
I think when I first saw it, like you said, the big stars weren't necessarily in the roster. So from the roster he had to choose from, those 23 guys, it seemed like it was pretty good. I mean, there might be one or two changes. Like Roldan. I'm not a big Roldan fan. I think he plays with a lot of heart, but I think as far as skill level goes, he's not quite at the level that we want somebody to be on the pitch with. But I can see why he would be on the pitch, right? He brings a lot to the locker room, I know. And we do need that leadership and that drive going forward in the locker room. But outside of that, I think overall it was okay. Miles, I would consider him a second tier choice from the choices that we had even in this cycle. But I think overall, I think it was a pretty strong piecing together of these guys.
Okay, so let me see if I can do this here. I've been messing around trying to call this up. So see if I'm trying to just get a bigger look at these names. It's not really working for me.
Yeah.
But let's just run this down. So first of all, what we can say is Matt Freese, he's the lockdown goalkeeper. I mean, I think that case is settled.
Yeah.
We don't have to spend any more time talking about goalkeepers.
So, speaking about him, how many has he had in a row now? Isn't it like a 10 or 11 or something like that?
He's had 10 or 11 in a row, and he has had the vast majority of minutes this year. And I think the only person that could have challenged him was Turner, and he's obviously not in the equation anymore. And I feel bad for him, but this is Matt Freese's team. And it's just,
I think so too.
For whatever reason, Pochettino has settled on him. He's not perfect. He's capable of mistakes. We saw a scary moment there in Uruguay, but he has been reliable enough, and we're getting good results. And Pochettino likes him, and we know that he is good at shot stopping, which is, newsflash, one of the most important skills a goalkeeper can have. I've got. Let me just. I'm looking at these names. I wish I was doing a little bit better job with this screen. But anyway, actually, you know what? Give me a second. I'm going to do this the right way. Here we go. Live TV.
I was glad that Des was able to be in this camp too.
Yeah. Give me just a second. So I wanted to talk first, actually, about Joe Scally.
Okay.
Here we go. All right. So here we do get this in here. So Joe Scally is someone that plays in the Bundesliga, plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach, a teammate of Gio Reyna's in the Bundesliga. And I've been saying, this is a defender we need to bring in. Why are we bringing in people like Alex Freeman, who just plays in MLS? And let's be frank, MLS level defender is not the highest level defender in the world. We are a league, a salary cap league. We're going to spend our money on attackers. It rarely is good money spent on defenders. So an MLS defender is generally not going to be that strong. And we got people like Freeman regularly getting called up over someone like Joe Scally, who plays in the Bundesliga. I was like, why is this happening? Yeah. Well, so I'm glad to see him here, and I'm glad to see him get the start. But I will also tell you that I was not very impressed with him. And certainly when you look at Alex Freeman's performance against Uruguay, I'm all right. I'm satisfied. We got to look at Scally, but I guess Pochettino had it right from the beginning. I'm going to pick Freeman over Scally at this point. You have any take on him?
It's so hard to judge it off of one match.
Well, that's true. Well, also we have so few matches to go on at this point.
Exactly. So I think you just gotta try to go with the hot hand. I mean, that's the best way to say it. I think you just have to go with the hot guy, and hopefully you can get a bunch of guys that are hot at the same time. They can be all on the pitch at the same time, and we can make it to the final and win the World Cup.
I know you brought up Dest. I think this is only his second window here with Pochettino. Yeah. He got a lot of minutes. He was the only field player to start both matches. Yeah. And I don't even think they had him lined up as a defender. They had him lined up as an outside midfielder and playing at a wingback position. And that's what he wants to do anyway, right? He doesn't really want to defend, but he's good with the ball, and he's good at making late runs, which is kind of what you want coming from that deep outside position. So I think there's no doubt that he needs to be roaming that right side corridor for us. And the question is there a way to get him and Freeman onto the field at the same time? Because Freeman is making his case. Well, you know what? We'll get to Freeman on the Uruguay match. But spoiler alert, he's kind of winning me over. So, but just kind of keep going through this roster real quick. Roldan and Tessman were the midfield duo. And I think both probably auditioning to kind of be the guy to be next to Tyler Adams. What'd you think of these two guys?
I would give it. I'm not a big Roldan fan anyway, so I would have to go to Tessman. I think he played a better match anyway. But I think Roldan brings not necessarily a higher skill level, but he does bring a lot of leadership ability. And that's something that you do need on a team. That's my view on it.
So you have such thing as locker room guys. And some, they're veterans. They've seen it all before. They have a kind of a good soccer IQ. I mean, they're able to read the game and read the mood of the team and all that kind of stuff. And Roldan is someone who can hustle. He's always going to be in the right spot. And he's a blue collar. He's an MLS lifer, and he shouldn't get the nod over a lot of these other midfielders that we have. But if he ends up on the World Cup squad, I'm not going to be offended by that. I know he is a figure that can be divisive and it can trigger folks when they see his name. I don't understand that really. I mean, at the MLS level, he's been great. And I think his hustle and his locker room presence, it can be enough for him to win a spot as a depth piece. And if that happens, I'm not going to be upset about it. But I agree with you. I think Tessman did have a very strong camp. I think he's one of the guys that stood out. I kind of put Tessman alongside Aiden Morris as far as people that are auditioning for this midfield role. And we saw Morris play against Uruguay in the second match. And And I think Tessman's got the edge over Morris. So I would not be surprised at all to see Tessman make it on the list. I mean, to make it onto the squad. Brendan Aronson got to play, and what did you think? What do you think of Aronson?
So we've been watching him in here for probably 3 years, 4 years, something like that.
At least 4,
and and he has definitely come a long way. I can see comparing to even 2 or 3 years ago, he's come a long way in his ability. He's come a long way in his IQ level of how he's playing the match and everything, I think. And I think that definitely bodes well for him. It seems like before he was, I mean, I hate to say like this, but it seems like he was just running around without a purpose always. But it seems like now he understands what they're trying to do or what he's trying to do, and he goes with purpose, and he's smarter about things too. I think he doesn't get burned as often and things like that. So I think from that aspect, I like to see somebody see the progression that he's making, and he's actually to a point where I think he can be a good contributor on the team.
I've watched him come up. I saw him debut at 18 years old for Philadelphia. I've been rooting for him for a long time. And I've always loved his style of play. He always seems very smooth on the ball and very vertical minded about just getting down the field. But I'll be honest with you, I thought he'd be further along by now. I remember seeing him play in the 21, I think it was, the Nations League, and thought he was so good. And I just haven't been that excited about him since. I wonder if we're getting enough of the finishing touches from him, enough in that final third. I'm a fan. I'm pulling for him. But when you start looking at all the names that are making this midfield crowded, I don't know if he's going to make it. Someone like Tessman might have a better shot at the squad than Aronson, only because of the role he has on the team. Tessman's more of a defensive midfielder that plays in front of the defense, and Aronson's more plays higher up the pitch, where we have other options. So I don't know how that's going to work out for him. At center back, we were trying out Miles Robinson alongside Tim Ream. You got any thoughts on center back here?
Tim Ream did great. Tim Ream never lets you down. I mean, he is consistency in the back. And the only thing I wish is that he was 10 years younger.
Amen. I do wish he was 10 years younger.
Yeah, but Miles Robinson, he's out of position a lot. And that is not something we need on our back line. We need stability, and we need consistency on the back line. You may not have to be the fastest guy out there, but if you can be consistent, I think that's more than anything else that we can ask for in the back line. And I don't think Miles Robinson has that.
Yeah, in the run-up during that cycle, in the run-up to the 2022 World Cup, he was looking like one of our best center backs. Yeah. He went down with an ACL early in 22 and missed the World Cup. And I don't think has ever been the same player since then.
Yeah, I agree.
And another example of how or why our center back position is an area of weakness on the team. We just can't seem to find someone other than Chris Richards, who was not called into this camp. Find someone that everybody can agree that we should have confidence in. Tim Ream, you're right. He's 38 years old. No, I think that's right. Yeah. He's we've said this every time. He has yet to have anybody take his job. I mean, he continues to play well enough that our weak center back pool hasn't produced anybody that can pass him. Honestly, I hope that's changing, and we'll talk about it more when we go over Uruguay. I am starting. First of all, I agree with you. You're right. He rarely lets us down. He has continued to be the picture of consistency, but I'm also starting to see some cracks. I think the goal here. So we scored first, and we can talk about it in a second. then Paraguay equalized, and on the goal that they scored, well, there was a lot of people messed up. There's a lot of blame to spread around, but I think one of the things you can see on that play is that Tim Ream did not have the closing speed he needed to do his part, and you could say he got called out of position, or you could say no, there was other people that created the problem. But if he had been a step faster, maybe that play goes a different way. And so, and he got burned in the MLS playoffs last month. And if you're getting burned in MLS, I don't know how you're going to do against the world's greatest attackers in the World Cup.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about. I continue to stay worried about him. And I continue to hold out hope we're going to find somebody else, because he's going to be almost 39 when this tournament's taking place. So real quick, Max Arfsten once again gets the nod at left wing. Once again, we don't have Jedi Robinson. He's supposed to be our first choice. He remains hurt. I'm beginning to say my emotional goodbyes to Jedi Robinson. I'm preparing for the possibility that he is not going to be able to make it to the World Cup. I can't remember the last time I've seen him play. He would
That's
be
sad too.
It's really sad. It is frustrating. And I hope he's clearly, when he's healthy and fit, no question, first choice. Yeah. But I'm starting to come to terms with the fact that we might not get that version of Jedi in this cycle. That being said, as much as I poo-pooed on him and just called him a dime store version of Jedi Robinson, Max Arfsten, doggone it, is starting to win me over. What do you think about Max?
Yeah, I'm like you. In the beginning, I was like, what in the world is he doing out there? He messed up early on, and because of his mess up, the other team scored. But now I'm kind of like you. And I think the big key was getting him off the back line, right? So he's more of a midfield position that goes back to help a little bit. And I think that's perfect for him, right? Because at club level, he plays as a forward. And so I think this is perfect for him to have light defensive duties, because he's a light defensive player.
Right.
He is he's probably, I don't know, if you had to put him and Dest in the same room and said which one's the better defender, I think I would have a give a nod to Dest, but kind of close.
Yeah. And that's why we've had success going to a back three or wing back system is the fact that our outside guys are better at going forward anyway. So why not play them at wing back? And then to round out the roster here, Florin Balogun gets the nod as our first choice striker.
I think he's our first choice striker.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think anybody's arguing that. I think the debate comes in what the depth chart looks like behind him. I lost my train of thought. But anyway, this is when you look at this roster, this I think is the best. Well, you tell me if you agree. This to me looks like, given the camp roster, that this is the best lineup. On paper, looking at the names and the skills, not knowing how it's going to play out on the field yet, this looks like the best lineup we can put together from the camp. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, I would. I think that he put his best foot forward, so to speak, with this, and I think that maybe one or two of those guys, maybe you could argue maybe should have been somebody else that was on the bench that should have been out there. But I think overall, I think that was a pretty, for the roster, it was a pretty solid field.
So I've kind of buried the lead a little bit. We got to talk about it. Yep. A guy that I thought was on the outside looking in and had blown his chances is called in to the camp and is inserted into the starting 11. Gio Reyna, what do you think about the latest chapter in this drama of him coming back? And what did you like? What did you like what you saw from him?
I was on the fence. what happened before it's kind of hard, whether it's self-inflicted or family inflicted. It's kind of hard, right? But I think his attitude towards the team and his playing has changed. It seems that way. And so because of that, I think as far as talent goes, he has a lot of talent. I think his problem is he doesn't get consistent play at club level. But as far as this cycle goes, he won me over. Between the two matches that he played in, he won me over. And I think that, just the fact, I think maybe his header was kind of lucky, but the rest of his play, a lot of those passes that he's putting into the box, those are spot on. And that's exactly what we need is precision passing into the box, because that's what we've been lacking on a lot of these different plays.
So I have always been a fan of Gio Reyna as the player, and I have been disappointed a little bit in Gio Reyna, the person. And it's probably his personality, maybe his character, causing problems in the locker room. 2022, we don't need to rehash all that. And the last time he was called into camp was in March from Nations League, and Pochettino saw something then that he absolutely did not like. And he sent him home and didn't bring him back for a few camps. And it's like, it's going to take an attitude adjustment from you before you're going to be back on my team. He got the club move that he needed, but he still hasn't been able to get a lot of minutes there. But I'll tell you about Gio Reyna, the player. When he's on his day, he's the best guy we have out there. And he's got that swagger. Yeah, he's got an arrogance to his game and kind of a mouth on him that turns off a lot of people. But I don't mind that in an athlete if it helps, if it's what fuels them to perform at a high level. And we need swagger. Like, since Clint Dempsey left, we haven't had somebody with the swagger. Who's the guy that wants to stand his defender up and dribble at him and make a move on him instead of just turning around and playing the safe pass? It's Reyna, and I love seeing him do his job. He comes in. Max Arfson is taking the in-swinging corner kicks, which puts him on the other side of the field from where he's playing during the flow of play. But he takes the corner kick and serves it up, perfect spot. Reyna's there in the box, heads it in. 4 or 5 minutes into the match, we immediately take a lead. He's immediately taking, making an impact on the match. And then what does he do? He runs over to the camera. In his celebration, he runs to the camera. And if you read his lips, he says, "I told you." He's either saying "I told you" or "I told you so," which I love that. I mean, I love that, like, kind of that bad boy attitude, as long as, it's not going to be where it crosses the line to a disruptive presence in the locker room. And hopefully he's seasoning that a little bit. He's not losing it entirely. I don't want him to lose it entirely. It could cause him to lose his edge as a player. But if he can check, kind of round out the rough edges and be a better player and a better teammate, when I say better player, I mean, I guess I'm saying being more respectful to the coach and show the effort that the coach wants to see, be coachable and be a good teammate. So, and then later he gets the assist on the game winner by doing what? By dribbling into the box, taking on people. And I think he's attempting to drive a pass across the box, and it gets deflected, but it goes right to the feet of Balogun, who, to his credit, is in the exact right spot. And we're able to knock in the winner. So to kind of move on from this game and get to the next one, we did see, of course, with friendlies, by the 70th or 75th minute, it's just kind of like the tactics free zone. It gets crazy. You got all the substitutions in the game, and you just kind of lose a sense of how to evaluate the match at that point. But we did see Pepe come on as a substitute at the end of the game. And what did you think about his performance of what we saw of him?
Pepe?
Yeah, Ricardo Pepe.
Okay. What did I say? If you can't say anything nice about him, don't say anything at all.
there was a time not too long ago where he was our first choice striker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with Balogun coming into form, everybody assumed he was the second choice. He gets a little bit of time here, and he is alone in the box with the ball at his feet. He's on a sitter. He can't get it. He takes 3 touches on the ball and can't get it in, and is a terrible, terrible look for him. And I feel so bad for him. Spoiler alert: he did not see any action in the Uruguay match, and I wonder how much he has fallen in Pochettino's eyes. How are you seeing the? I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're talking about both matches at once here. We did see Haji Wright start in the Uruguay match. How do you see the depth chart right now at striker?
Well, Pepe, if he was second before this cycle, he is not in second now. And I would definitely, over the last 6 months, Haji has had better play in United States men's national team play than everybody at forward except Balogun. And so I wasn't really a Haji Wright fan, but I think he's second choice, at least right now. At least for me. I like the fact that he's big and strong, and he can't get knocked down from the defenders and stuff easily. And I think that's a big plus for him. And I think his footwork's getting better too. I mean, I can kind of see that. His footwork's getting better. And I think that he brings a different style of forward than any of the other forwards that we have, I think.
Talking about Haji Wright, and that's a good segue to the Uruguay match because he did get the start. We're seeing him pictured here on this roster announcement. And I agree with what you're saying. He's a bigger presence, and I was impressed with his finishing that we saw last month in the October window. He had a couple different goals that he finished in very different ways, and I was very impressed with that. When you consider all of what he has shown us and couple that with Pepe's performance, then I think Wright is going to be second on the depth chart behind Balogun. So what happened in the Uruguay match is Wright started, and when it got time to make subs at the end, it was Balogun who came on as the substitute, and Pepe did not play at all. And of all of the bench players, okay, not counting the other goalkeepers in the camp, but out of all the field players, I meant to say, Pepe is the only one in this camp roster that did not get a start at all. I'm afraid that he still may make the World Cup, because I think with the 26-man roster to the World Cup, we could carry 3 strikers, so he may still make the team. But I think that's where he is. I think he's at third place right now. Man, he's got the month of March, hopefully, to change the coach's mind. But because we have so little time to prep and we have so few matches to make our evaluations on, these moments in these matches loom large. And, you would probably want to have a larger sample size, but we just don't have that luxury. So we have to, or the coach, Pochettino, is going to have to make evaluations based on what he sees. All right. So listen, Paraguay, that was a good win for us. They're ranked number 39 in the world, according to FIFA World Rankings. And so when you combine that with Australia and Ecuador and Japan, that makes 4 in a row of where we have not been beaten, right? Because I think we tied Ecuador. We won the other matches. All against top 40 teams. And now we're rolling into the Uruguay match. Uruguay is ranked number 15th in the world. And they're one of the stronger teams in CONMEBOL. And look at this lineup. But not knowing how the match is going to go, just looking at these names, what did you think of this roster, this lineup announcement?
I thought, part of it's because, Uruguay has 4 stars on their jersey, right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at this lineup and you think, okay, we're going against a team that they claim 4 world championships, not necessarily World Cups, but 4 world championships. And so because of that, you look at this roster, and honestly, I thought, if we won, it's going to be a 1-goal win.
If.
But when I looked at the roster and I thought Uruguay, honestly, my first thought was, if we can just get a draw, I'll be happy with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this is almost a completely different starting lineup. 9 out of 11 starters are new compared to the Paraguay match on Saturday. So we played our best player from this camp roster. We played our best first choice against the lower ranked team, Paraguay. And now we're putting all of our bench guys against the higher ranked team in Uruguay. Now, Uruguay did not have their full strength A squad, but it was a strong squad. It was very close. It was closer to their full A squad than certainly what we had going on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so Reese the goalkeeper, and Serginho Dest, the only 2 starters from Paraguay that are also starting in this match. Everybody else is coming off the bench, and most of these guys are either in MLS or the English Championship, or the Scottish League, which is kind of on the same level, right, as MLS and English Championship. So this is not a list of names that would typically inspire a lot of confidence. Certainly not against the number 15 team in the world. So you're right. Like, we would have been very, very pleased with a 0-0 or a 1-1 draw, and would probably feel lucky to get that. So everybody knows this. We won that match. We won it 5-1. It was 4-1 at halftime. We destroyed them.
Yeah.
What were your general impressions of this match, and particularly the first half where we scored 4 of the goals?
I think that's, I don't remember every single match, right? But I think this year, 2025, that is the best half of football they've played all year. I think hands down.
I will do you better than that. This is one of the most complete halves, one of the most complete games, but certainly one of the most complete halves I can ever remember seeing them play.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, it's been a while since we've dominated like that, right? If ever.
And I mean,
against that kind of competition, maybe ever.
So, and the 4 goals in the first half all came from MLS players. So Sebastian Berhalter is making his case for being our best set piece taker. And the first goal comes, we're just outside the 18-yard box. There's not a lot of room or angle to work with. And he actually, on the first kick, were able to get into the back of the net, but it didn't count because the ref had blown the whistle just before he kicked the ball. He turns right around, runs a completely different play, and kicks it to a teammate who lays it off for him immediately just to change the angle. And Berhalter takes a shot diagonally across the 18-yard through all the traffic, puts it in the upper 90, a curved power shot. Holy cow, that was impressive.
That was a world-class goal.
World class.
Yeah, world class. Absolutely.
I don't care what club he plays for, what league he's in. He just did that.
Yeah. I mean, if you put it on the left foot, that would have been a Messi shot. I mean,
yeah,
just saying.
That's exactly right. And then he turns around and gets the assist on the second goal by on a perfectly taken corner kick that goes to the far side of the box and is just out of reach of the defender and is right there for Alex Freeman, who heads it home. 2 MLS guys combining on that.
Yep.
The third goal is the one where Alex Freeman takes the ball into the box and dribbles past 3 guys. Now, Alex Freeman is not only an MLS defender, He's playing this game at center back. And here he is in the box dribbling people and scoring goals.
Yep. That's amazing.
Alex Freeman had a night.
He did.
I want to, just before he got the ball, we win possession with Austin Trusty running up and making an incredible tackle to win the possession back. And I'm going to want to talk about Trusty a little bit before we're done. But Freeman is somebody who, and especially with this performance, okay, all right, you know what? This isn't some weird Pochettino thing who's putting too much value on MLS. He's just a good player. I don't even think he was in MLS when the season started. He was still at next pro level, and he is doing it. He's getting it done. I think Max Arfson, Alex Freeman are winning me over, and they're proving me wrong and proving Pochettino right. I now want to find a way to get Freeman and Dest on the field at the same time, which we did see in this match. Yeah. And to round it out, fourth goal was Diego Luna. He came late run into the box, and somebody had squared it. He pounded it in. So MLS had a good showing against Uruguay. Now this is not a chintzy opponent, and it's not a chintzy squad. We just shocked the world, honestly. No one could have expected this result with these players. Yeah. So tell me, what do you think about before I go there, I mean, I've named Berhalter and Freeman, and you can go there again if you want to, but who are some individuals that stood out for you in this game?
I mean, I think it's the body of work of Berhalter and the set pieces and his way of being able to kick it to where it needs to be kicked, especially on corners and things like that. Because I hate to not be a complete fan of Pulisic and his ability to do corner kicks and things like that, but he's lost something in that. I don't know what it is, but Berhalter, he made good plays in all the set pieces. When he's kicking the ball, he makes the right choice to the right place consistently. And just for that, and I love his hustle. I love the fact that if they're getting into a little tussle, he always wants to be right in the middle of it, standing up for his teammates, or even standing up for himself, and he will not back down. And I think you need an enforcer like that on the pitch, and I think he does a really good job about that. And from all that, I think that he stood out more than anybody else on that Uruguay match for me, because of maybe it's that first goal, that we scored, and that kind of set the momentum for the rest of the game, rest of the match. Maybe it was because of that, or maybe it was just that was a world-class goal. And I remember several years ago, Des had a same from the opposite side. He had a similar bend-in goal up in the top left, and it was a similar type goal, and that was a world-class goal too. And just something like goals like that just speak to my heart. And I won't lie, it just speaks to my heart, and I think it's just amazing. So he was probably the one that really stood out to me from everybody else. But I don't know. How about you?
Okay, so I've said it before. I've said this a few times. Max Arfson and Alex Freeman have won the Pochettino lottery. Like, for whatever reason, Pochettino settled on them early, and suddenly they're prominent in the national team program and seem to be shoo-ins for the World Cup. They've won me over. Like, I feel like they've truly earned it at this point, even if they're not necessarily going to be starters. I think they've earned their spot. But regardless of how I felt about it, it's been clear that Pochettino has already had them identified for a while, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I'm thinking about who just played themselves onto the World Cup squad with this window or with this particular game, I'm not counting Freeman and Armstrong because I feel like they were already in. So who are you looking at? And I think you're absolutely right. I think the clear I think Reyna, I mean, let's talk about it. I think Reyna has played himself onto the squad with this window, assuming that his attitude behind the scenes is what it needs to be. He does come on as a sub against Uruguay and immediately gets an assist, and it's a fantastic one. So this window, he got, I guess he played a total of about 90 minutes, and he got a goal and 2 assists. So you can't ask for anything more from Reyna. I also think, when you get past him, Sebastian Berhalter is like the guy who's clearly made the most of his opportunities and has very likely played himself onto the team. It's tough. You look at our midfield, you got Weston McKennie, you got Tyler Adams, you got Malik Tillman, you got Diogo Luna, and you've got, Tanner Tessman. And the question quickly becomes, how are you going to get him on the field? Like, who's he going to replace? And I don't know the answer to that. And he might not be a starter, but he is playing so well that you can't ignore him. You have to find a spot for him.
Yeah.
The other guy, honestly, I'm looking at this match going, okay, we're playing Mark McKenzie and Aston Trusty at center back. We haven't seen these guys in a while. And we had Alex Freeman also at center back. I didn't mention that. This game did see Freeman and Dest on the field at the same time. And I think if there's a way to do that, that's going to help us. It certainly was borne out in this particular game. But I'm looking at McKenzie and Trusty going, please let somebody prove that they should take the spot from Tim Ream. And I thought both those guys did really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think McKenzie will do better with Richards by his side. But I think McKenzie probably had a more solid performance on defense. But I kept seeing Trusty on the ball. And I kept seeing Trusty up the field a little bit, doing good things.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most I've ever been impressed by Trusty. And I wouldn't be sorry if it turned out he got selected over Tim Ream. So I'm hoping that this was a positive data point for both McKenzie and Trusty, and maybe we don't have to have a 38-year-old playing in the World Cup on defense. Maybe. Nothing against Tim Ream, but, the international game is a young man's game. Yeah. So tell me, let's zoom out a little bit. Let's look at this. Let's look at the USMNT of 2025 and under Pochettino. Let's pick it up in March with the disastrous Nations League semifinal against Panama that saw us bounced out to last night against Uruguay. How are you feeling about this program? How are we trending? How do you feel now compared to, say, March or June?
So I think not only are some of the players growing on me, but the coach is growing on me too. And I think that in the beginning, it was like, why in the world is he doing all this? And there was a lot of questions. And I think from the way that he's handled everything, not only that, but the way that the guys have seemed to bought into what he's trying to do. Between those two things, I feel that the team is heading in definitely an upward trajectory. It's not always been like that, right? But this year, it seems overall we're definitely gearing up towards the World Cup next year, which is, right about 200 and a few days away. It's kind of hard to believe, but I feel like we're trending in the right direction. Some of these other times, we kind of went through and we would say, oh no, we're trending bad. When we lost to, was it Switzerland and that
and Turkey,
yeah, when we lost there, it was kind of like, man, we're going in the wrong direction. But these last two windows have definitely given me even courage, right? Courage that the United States men's national team will make it out through and hopefully win 2 or 3 matches after that.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
I really feel like today, I feel like that's possible. If you go back a year ago, I'm like, man, if we can just make it out of group, I'll be happy. But I think now the expectation is definitely going higher. And I think that I have more trust in the coach and more trust in the players and what he's trying to do. And I think the biggest thing is that I feel like they're buying in to what he wants to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you look at this, we have now won 5 matches in a row, all against top 40 ranked teams, culminating with a 5-1 thrashing of the number 15 team in the world with, at best, our B squad, possibly our C squad, mostly MLS and second division players from various leagues. That is, and plus, I would say this good form started in the second half against South Korea, a match that we lost in September. At halftime, second half, we came out in a back 3, and we have looked good ever since that halftime adjustment. And we lost to South Korea, but we have now won the other 5 matches, all against quality opponents. And so now I think confidence in the coach for everybody is high. It's high for me too. And it's starting to look like, oh, wait, maybe he did know what he was doing all year long, right? And we're the ones freaking out because we don't see the big picture. Clearly, and everybody knows this, no secret, there was a culture problem around this program when Pochettino took over. I think March was a wake-up call for him of exactly how bad it was. And he prioritized fixing that over worrying about any kind of result or trophy in the case of the Gold Cup or anything like that. He was sending a message to his players. He was getting everybody on board with his program. And I am willing to say that he has now solved that issue. Like, it's horrible that we're basically, we moved within less than a year away from the World Cup, and the coach is having to focus on people's attitudes. That's a bad place to be in. But it had to be done, and he did it. And I think he's accomplished that. And like you say, with that, now the players are on board and aligned with him. With that comes the buy-in. And it's interesting. You and I were texting about this a little bit earlier in the day. That Gold Cup roster that looked like at the time was such a waste. Like, what are we doing? Why are we bringing these guys in? We got a World Cup to worry about. What are we doing with these people? That Gold Cup roster is very largely represented in this Uruguay roster. In our roster that we fielded against Uruguay. And I think there's something to be said that the Gold Cup guys had almost an entire month with Pochettino, which is an eternity in the international game. And they're the ones that are playing his system the best and had such a strong performance against Uruguay. So my question is, are we better with a squad that looks like this but is playing exactly the way the coach wants them to? Or are we better with the bigger name European-based professionals, most of which were not here at all?
That's a really hard question. I think we were kind of scared, right? Because we thought at the end of the year, who in the world are we going to be able to get to play? Are we going to have to play like, some kind of Antarctica's team? Who are we going to get to be able to play us? And I think that was the biggest win, was who they were able to schedule.
Yes.
I mean, I never would have dreamt that we would have gotten all these matches with top 40 rosters
right
at the end of this year. I never would have thought that we were able to secure those kinds of matches, but we were. And that's come a long way. And the crazy thing is that we have shown that we can win without our quote unquote superstars. And I think that goes a long way.
Right? And not only that, sometimes the best team is not the collection of the most talented individuals. Mm-hmm. You can have an all-star squad that doesn't know how to play together, and then you can have these journeyman pros who do and are playing exactly the way the coach wants. And so there's a question of the sum of individual talent versus team cohesion.
Yeah.
And I think last night was a prime example of that.
And one thing, and we talked about this before off air, but something about when Pulisic is on the field, something about when he's on the field, it seems like the team doesn't count him as one of the 11, but they elevate him to a different level, and because of that, they don't play as well as a team. That's what it seems like. It's here recently when he's on the field that they elevate him, and they're either trying to get him the ball or trying to get him to look or whatever, and they're not playing as a team. They're playing as, let's funnel the ball to him and see what he can do for us. That kind of mentality.
Yeah, there's a psychological trap that players can fall into, and at my own scale in varsity high school ball a long time ago, kind of did this. I experienced this, which is you have a clear superstar player on your team,
Yep.
And so the players are out there on the field just trying to do their job and not mess up, and you feel like as long as I don't have the ball and I get it, but I just get it to our star player, then I'm off the hook. I can relax. Our star players are going to take care of it for us. And it's probably not that obvious at the international level as it was at the high school level, but there's still a little bit of that mentality of like, okay, I got it. Listen, I did my part. And you switch off a little bit, and maybe you're not making the run that you need to make. Maybe you're not showing the way you need to show. And so, I mean, if you do the analysis, it seems as though we might, and this is not a comfortable issue to explore too closely for people, we might be a better team when Pulisic is not on the pitch. And that's ironic, and it's also, discouraging, because I think he's in the middle of putting together the most legendary European club career that an American has ever had.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to translate fully to when he's playing for the United States. And maybe that's the psychology of his teammates around him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think what we're seeing is the culture's been fixed.
Yeah.
We now have increased confidence in the system he's put in. We see the buy-in from the players. We're getting good results. We're getting fantastic results. So confidence is high. Now, like you're saying, Nate, you feel like we can go out there and start making a deep run to the World Cup? Maybe we can. I still don't think we're going to see our team together until the tournament. Yeah. And that's unfortunate, but that's where we are. But if we can get the same level of buy-in, and not just buy-in also implies a little bit of a bad attitude of like, I don't really want to do what you're telling me to. But it can also be a case of fully understanding and knowing what to do. And a lot of these guys, like Pulisic, whatever, have not had the time with Pochettino that a lot of these guys, we're talking about the Gold Cup squad, having a month with them, and now they're here in this camp. These guys have had more time with Pochettino, so they're probably getting it more. They're probably understanding it more. And so, but I tell you what, if we can get our top talent to buy in and play together the way that squad did last night, I mean, we can cause problems for people. We can make headlines at the World Cup.
We can definitely ask questions of other squads. So
absolutely. I'll go so far as to say this is a signature win, not just for Pochettino, but for the United States. This is one of our strongest performances ever, with the most unlikely squad ever against a very strong and respectable opponent. Unless you count Mexico, I don't think Greg Berhalter, ever had a signature win of this magnitude.
Yeah, I can't think of anything like this. No.
All right, so vibes are good, right? Like we're feeling good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like we spend most of our time wringing our hands and worrying and freaking out because we care so much, and we're not seeing it come together. But I feel like now, at the next to last window, we are seeing it come together, and there's reason to believe that we just might put all the pieces together in time. We just might be okay.
John, we will be.
John, I appreciate you coming on and talking about these matches with me. I feel like the show got off to kind of shaky start there, but we ended up having some good talk.
Yeah.
This the January camp is, I believe, been moved to December for this year, but it's the same deal. It's not an official recognized window. Clubs are not obligated to release players. This will not be a camp that really matters in terms of the World Cup. We should not expect to see anybody that's going to be relevant to our World Cup plans. It's like a JV camp, right? We're bringing in the kids, we're bringing in the fringe players and the future players, and they're probably all going to be MLS guys because MLS is going to be out of season. So there will be a December camp, but don't count that. Don't factor that into what are we doing to prep for the World Cup. The only other window left before we have to have our team identified, is March, which seems a long way away to me. And I can't believe we're down to our last 2 matches before we have to start making real final decisions. But we do have Belgium and Portugal for those March friendlies. And so once again, like you were saying, you have to give hats off to the U.S. Federation for coming up and securing some good opposition and some good fixtures. Yep. That was my worry for a couple of years, is who are we going to play in a cycle where we don't have to qualify? And it seems like everybody qualified early enough that we were able to get some actual World Cup countries.
Yeah, definitely top 40 teams. Yeah,
exactly.
I think everybody we've played, like last 5 or 6 matches, is going to be in the World Cup.
Everyone's made it. So there's a lot of reasons to be confident, and there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic, and a lot of reasons to be excited. This was a fantastic window. It was extremely encouraging. I'm happy to see Reyna, gain some traction, get back into the picture. I do believe Berhalter and Trusty and or McKenzie possibly playing themselves onto the squad. But what do we do between now and March? We just have to keep an eye on their club performances. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. Hopefully people are getting minutes and getting good performances in. And then we'll come back in March. We'll play Belgium and Portugal. So, by the way, the World Cup draw is going to be on December 5th. So on that day, they're going to do the random selections that will basically assign the groups or define the groups. We're going to know who's going to play whom, and we'll know what group we're in. And it's going to get real on that day.
Yep.
And we can actually start scouting our opposition and start preparing against specific opponents. Like you said, we're only about 200 days away. It's starting to feel real now.
Yes, it is.
And I'm a little bit sad we have to wait to March to see this team play again. But anyway, there we go. John, again, thank you. You might not remember this, but, we're actually in the middle of the MLS playoffs. They kill it dead for the international.
Oh, right.
Yeah, whoops. So let's see if we can spin that back up again. But we are getting ready to enter the knockout stages of MLS playoffs. So it's gonna get exciting. I don't know how many people remember that it's going on or care enough to stop watching college football for it. And it's another reason. It's one of the big reasons why I'm happy about the calendar change. We're going to see an uninterrupted postseason that takes place in the spring instead of the fall. I can't wait for that to get here. But let's get out of here. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And in the meantime, watch some soccer with me. I'll talk to you and everybody else next time. See ya.